Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is just going over that pen tool exercise that we did in class, and I'm just going to run through it and explain the basic fundamentals of using the pen tool itself. So you see on the screen here we've got our pen tool exercise JPEG, and what we're going to do is we're going to basically click and draw an undulating curve, which means the curve will be going we'll start here and we'll go up, and then it'll go down and down and up and down, and it will end right on this one here. And it's going to look like basically this little chunk here. There's a beginning point, and then we're going to basically make our Bezier curve follow this this path, this shape. So, and just to break it down here, I'm going to zoom in quite close here just to give you guys an example of what all the bits and pieces are named. So this little piece here, the actual chunk that's actually curved, this curved line, is called the curved line segment. That's the proper name that Adobe gave all that stuff. And B, right here, this little guy, is called the direction point, and there it is right over there. C, this little chunk in between this little point here and the direction point, is called the direction line, and it talks about it right there, and it's direction line. And then we've got the actual this little square in the middle here. That is your selected anchor point, and this little guy here, for example, and this guy here, as it points out in E, is the unselected anchor point. So when an anchor point is selected, it fills in with a solid black. If it's unselected, it's just like a little box, white box. And then we'll actually cover selecting and unselecting stuff also. So I'm just going to zoom out here, and notice actually I've got this keyboard viewer. And why I have it up here is because when I hit the space bars or shortcut keys, it displays different, it displays it right up in real time. So when I hit the space bar key, of course, it shows up. When I hit the command key, it shows up there. When I hit the option key, it shows up right there. When I hit the control key, it shows up right there. When I hit the shift key, it shows up here. So different combinations of these key sets in Photoshop, in any Adobe program, basically alter the tools and the functionality of the tools that I've selected, and we'll go over that later too. But if you ever get lost, or you're wondering what on earth I'm doing or how I'm getting my tool to change, for example, I have this the marquee tool selected right here. If I go over to the page and I hit the space bar, well, that turns into a hand. In any Adobe program, it doesn't matter what tool you have, if you hit the space bar, you're going to get this hand symbol. If I hit the space bar and what is that? That is command. I'm going to get a magnifying glass. I can zoom in. If I hold down the space bar, command, and option, I get the zoom out tool. And this combination of these three keys allows me to navigate through very carefully and precisely the Photoshop page, and it could be any Adobe program, just so you guys know. The alternative to that, of course, is the super slow way. So if I wanted to zoom into this page, geez, I don't even know where to go. I'd have to go zoom in, zoom out. I can like click on here and then zoom in, and or you can do the command plus sign or command minus. Command 0 to fit on screen. Actual pixels is command 1. For example, I can go in and it can show me exactly what's going on. The thing with that is that if I have this, for example, I'm just going to command plus this. So I'm looking at something right close and I don't really know my keyboard commands. The only way around, if I don't use the space bar and drag it, I got to take my cursor off the area that I'm working, and I have to go down to the scroll bars and scroll around and then scroll up over here, and it's very time consuming. So it's way faster and way more efficient to get these finger strokes down pat. So that's just a little aside right there. So anyway, on with the show. What we're going to do first is all I'm going to do, and it's really basic, very simple. The instructions are right there. So I'm going to using the pen tool, click, hold the shift key, and the shift key itself just snaps your line to 45-degree increments, and I'm going to drag up. And so if I click, and you have to be careful here, and oh, by the way, you have to use the pen tool. So there's the pen tool there. I had the marquee tool selected, so I draw a little marquee square instead. So we're going to use the pen tool. I'm going to click on it. Notice that all these guys here have little flyouts. There's the pen tool, a freeform pen tool you can trace, add anchor point, delete anchor point, convert point tool. These guys are really important. The freeform, not that much of a fan of. Still needs a lot of work, but you can mess around with it. It's basically just freeform drawing. Does lots of points and stuff. So anyway, we're going to use the pen tool, P for pen, which is the shortcut. And if you mouse over any of these guys and you just let your cursor hang out for a second, it's going to tell you exactly what these guys are. So you can go through and just take a peek at any of them and just explore. And that's the biggest thing, is that take some time and explore Photoshop and play with it. There is tons of stuff. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get this pen tool selected. Then I'm going to go up over here. Now, whenever you select any tool in this toolbar, you got this thing up here. It's kind of like an extension of the menu bar. And it has options for any of the tools. So for example, you've got these two guys here. This little guy here is called the shape layers. And the shape layers is what I use primarily. And then you've got, interesting, well, sure, let's allow them to do that. Anyway, shape layers I use primarily. Shape layers is kind of like, basically it's all vector based, so it's kind of like sort of Corel Draw, Illustrator type of stuff, paths based on mathematical formulas. But think of it that it's able to hold color, and you can modify the color, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that in a second. And then you got this one here. This is just paths. Paths is the old-fashioned stuff that originally came with Photoshop way back in the day. This guy here is what you want, shape layers. Shape layers allows you to make work that's much more flexible. You can transfer over to various programs without having to take extra steps, to colorize and stuff later on. So we're going to use shape layers. So you want to make sure that one's selected, this guy right here. And of course, this is basically all your different stuff. There's your pen tool, there's your freeform pen tool. These are just general shapes. You've got rectangle, you've got a rounded rectangle, an ellipse tool, which is a circle, a polygon, could be a star, could be a stop sign, could be anything. Line tool, and then you've got custom shapes. If I look in here, oh, interesting. Oh yeah, and you want to make sure the rubber band is turned off. Rubber band is kind of just makes it kind of, well, it makes it act goofy. That's all I'm going to say about that. It gets very frustrating, and we'll cover that later. So anyway, we got to get this. We want to get the shape layer selected, get our pen tool selected, and let's get drawing. So you'll see actually when you start off in Photoshop that you've got this icon. That's the pen tool. If I hit the caps lock key, and you'll notice up here, I'm going to turn that on. The cursor turns into a crosshair. I prefer the crosshair, but what I'm going to do is leave it on. Basically the pen tool icon, so everyone understands what tool I'm using. So I'm going to click right there, and I'm going to hold my shift key down, and I'm going to drag up. And you'll see when I drag up, you got my direction points going on, these little guys right here, and I've got my direction line, which is that little chunk in between the line that's stretching out right now when I move it up and down, between the unselected anchor point itself. So I'm going to click and drag that out, and I'm going to let go. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to go over to the next one. You see actually, oh, on the side, when I clicked on here, it made this point, it made a shape layer right up here. And it's not showing anything right now. After we draw stuff, there will be an actual small thumbnail of the image that we draw and through here. So so this shape layer, and it makes a layer, and you're able to color it. If I was to click on this guy right now, it's colored white. I can change it to whatever color I want, and it will change that color on the fly. Now, I only have one point selected. As soon as I click and drag over here, it's going to fill this area. We're going to see a shell shape. So I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to click on this one. Pow. Then I'm going to hold the shift key and drag down. Now when I hold the shift key, it's just snapping it to 45 degrees, and so I can just rotate through, and you'll see it just snaps it, and it keeps it at a 45 degree. If I take the shift key off, then it's freeform. I can drag it wherever I want to go. Because I just want nice vertical lines, I'll hold the shift key down, and it's easy that way. So I let go. And you'll see right off the bat what happens is that I'm getting this fill color in through here. So it's coloring it as I go.